Welcome back to the third episode of the Era Podcast. Today, we have a special guest. We're actually not a guest. You're hosting us. We're at your house. So we're at Miller Kopp's house, and we're going to talk about basketball, cold brew, life, maybe some spirituality. I don't know. We might get into it here. But before we start, we have a sponsor today. It's Talk Coffee, located around the Sellersburg, Louisville area. If you guys need good cold brew, you need to reach out to them. They also have espresso, and they have just normal coffee that you can brew. So we're going to be drinking this. Miller might even rate it. He's a big cold brew guy. So we're going to pour some in here, but we're going to get right into it.
Era Sports. We're at the game.
So here we are. We're going to be drinking some Talk coffee today. Actually, the cool story about Talk is there's 4 guys that started Talk. It's, I got to see here, Tyler, Aaron, Luke, and Kojin. And they just want people to drink their coffee and have conversations and talk, which is what we're going to do today. Miller, most people know who you are. Give us a little rundown. Where are you from? Well, how'd you end up in Indiana? You don't have to get into all that, but who are you? What do you do?
All right, so I am originally from Houston, Texas. I am obviously play basketball in Indiana, but came, here from Northwestern, and basically, I grew up playing sports, every different sport. Growing up, I've got 3 brothers, and 1 older, 2 younger, and they're all athletes too. And basically, just fell in love with basketball, and one thing led to another. Ended up at Northwestern, played AU basketball. Was under recruited a little bit until my final summer, where I kind of blew up and made a lot of camps and got a lot of notoriety, and basically, I went from having one low major offer to having 30 after 2 days of the first live session. So it was insane.
Did you play in a circuit?
I played Under Armour circuit.
Okay, so
Under Armour circuit, yeah, UAA, and
what was your team name? Or was it
Houston Defenders.
Okay,
yeah, and so I led the Under Armour, the UAA in scoring that year. And just put myself in a good position to play, almost anywhere I wanted. And, went to Northwestern for the right opportunity because I had an opportunity to play. I didn't want to be promised anything, but I just, needed a chance, an opportunity. So, for me, that's all it was. And I had a great relationship with the coaches and staff, and, spent 3 years there and decided to, take a new step, and, went to Indiana, and now I'm here.
All right, and back with that, with my personal experience, I grew up a Louisville fan my whole life just because I've grown up in that area. I've been to countless Louisville games at the Young Center, and my first game was actually going to the Wisconsin game when we were filming with you for the Day of the Life. And no disrespect for Louisville fans, I love everything about the culture and the Young Center and everything, but when you walk in that assembly hall and you hear the roar of everything, it's just a whole different level when it comes to Big Ten basketball, especially in assembly hall for Indiana basketball. It's just, you can feel the passion and the emotional connection to the team that the fan base has, and it's just unreal. It's nothing you'll ever experience until you've actually been there.
Yeah, and so we had Jay Wright come to one of our practices and watch, and because he was calling a game, and I forget what game, but
it was Wisconsin.
Was it Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was Wisconsin, and so he said that was his first time ever, in assembly, and he said it was just incredible, just being there, seeing it, feeling the history, and it's real. You feel it when you walk in there. You smell the popcorn. People know the chants. They know the songs that are coming on. So it's a wild thing to experience, but it's so cool.
Did you take a visit to IU? I guess you got in the transfer portal. You never got to see a game before you played, right? Or did you?
No, I did. It's in Northwestern.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I played at Indiana. So Indiana, when I was at Northwestern my freshman year, my first ever Big Ten game was at Indiana. It was a first Big Ten game, of course, like I said, and then I started that game. So I started 19 games as a freshman. So I started my first ever Big Ten game. It was at Indiana, and it was, again, Indiana's first Big Ten game of the year too. So and they had obviously Romeo, and so everybody was lit. Like I think they were undefeated at the time, and everybody was going nuts, and just because the hype of the year, of the team, of Romeo, it was wild. And so I remember, start the game, I like made a bad play, and then I turned it over, and then Romeo went down the floor and dunked it.
There's a picture of that, right?
There's a picture of that. And it's been in Assembly Hall for since that year, since my freshman year, and it's crazy. And so I remember vividly, right after he dunked it, I'm chasing him, I'm looking at him like, dang man, the coach is gonna sub me out or something. They call a timeout, or we call a timeout, and the crowd gets so loud I can't hear myself think. And it was so crazy, but it was kind of traumatic, but it was also like the coolest thing ever. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And so from that moment on, like I fell in love with Indiana. And so I had been to games, obviously played there, and I always played well. So I was like, it's kind of a good omen. And but never been on campus or anything like that. But when I came here, it was just strictly a basketball decision.
What was your other options? So when you enter the transfer portal, what I guess you don't have to give all of them because you probably had several, but what was top 5 for you?
So my top 5 were Oregon State, USC in California, and Texas A&M, and then Indiana, of course.
After your first winter here, where you were like, man, I should have chose California. Was that your
No, because you know why? Because I had been through not summers, but winters of Chicago. So it's like a winter here is not nearly the same as a winter in Chicago. So I was cool with it.
Yeah, that's very true. It is brutal up there. I think we talked about like your negative wind chills all the time. So Indiana, it's like spring during the winter. We had one more question from an IU fan, was if you know anything about basketball, regardless if you're in Indiana or not, who Bobby Knight is. What was it like meeting him for the first time?
So the first time I met Coach Knight was he was walking out of our gym and getting into his car, and I don't know how it happened, but I ended up walking up. Our trainer introduced us, and I duck my head in the car. I say, Coach Knight, how's it going? My name's Miller Kopp. Nice to meet you. And he goes, I don't give a shit what your name is, kid. Can you guard? And I was like, and he's gripping my hand, and I'm like, yes, sir.
So immediately you knew like all the stories were true about him. You're like, this dude's
probably. Yeah. I was like,
eats, breathes.
This guy
is
he doesn't mess around. And so I was immediately like, yes, sir. And then he said, can you rebound? I go, yes, sir. So yeah, that was my first interaction with Coach Knight, and it was I won't ever forget it.
I wouldn't either. So talking kind of about the intensity, like what are practices like at IU for the last 2 years? You guys have had talent. If you think about like on the bench at IU this year, you have 4 or 5 guys that would start at all the other Big Ten schools. Like you have a lot of talent. Yeah. So what are practices like?
Well, it depends on the time of the year. But when we're competing. Like it's real because, just like in any, aspect of life, you're trying, whether it's in business, whether it's in sports, whether it's in, I don't know, school lunch, like you're trying to be first. You're trying to, play, you're trying to take somebody else's spot. You're trying to, compete. And so when we go hard. And so, but also at the same time, we have Coach Woody who's coming from the NBA. So he, our practices are, the first half of our practice is always the same drills, the same warm up, the same, rebounding, the same transition drills, offensive shooting stuff. So it's all, very NBA like. And so, it's pretty simple to get in a routine of that stuff.
So 2-part question, because it's a perfect segue into what Connor and I wanted to ask earlier is, one, in those super competitive practices, so if you're going 5s or whatever the drill is, who's the biggest trash talker on the team? And then 2, with your coach being in the NBA, who is somebody that he like references the most?
All right, the biggest trash talker is when he's winning. Okay, when he's winning, it's Anthony Leal. When his team is up, when he scores, when he does something, you're going to hear about it. You're going to hear about it big time.
So are you saying like the players that played against you guys this year, like when he was on the bench, and I guess it was the first, second half, was he talking like?
No.
He doesn't talk?
No. Not like during games and stuff. Like that's just during practice while we're competing. During games, we're just trying to win and just trying to figure out how to score more than the other team. So but what was the other part of the question?
Does Coach talk about a certain NBA coach or player the most, or do you like reference them?
Oh, you couldn't do this like Victor could, or something like that.
We have a couple plays named after some guys he's coached, but
I'd not be bad things, but it can be like just like, man,
No.
this player was so good I coached, or like.
No, there's not. It's not many players he talks about. He talks about Coach Knight sometimes. He uses some quotes. I
guess did he talk about
remembered.
him playing there a lot?
Yeah,
Like back in
really.
my
That's
day.
that's the player he talks about most is himself when he played. And talking about when I played, I was I'd have made that shot or whatever it was. He probably talks about himself as a player more.
That works. Kind of going into that too is like what. Talking about competitive and stuff like that. Who is the toughest player? Let's just say this year that you had to guard, because we've watched you in a lot of games lock down people, and I don't think people realize that too. While you're thinking about that, like when we talk about all the Twitter stuff like that, and they say like, why is Miller Kopp on the floor? Like he doesn't shoot enough. Like you're a 6'7" shooter who has to have somebody guarding you out in the corner, and you literally are a lockdown defender. So like maybe everybody was easy to guard, but do you have like that one person who was like, dang it, this guy is rough?
I'd probably say, I appreciate that. Thank you. And first off, to any guys out there want to get on the court, earn your coach's trust on defense. That's it. Then you'll get on the court.
I mean, you can't jump over a credit card, but you're a great defender.
Well, maybe not that one game, but don't look up check out Michigan State at home. All right, but no, they the goal for any basketball player at first should be get on the floor, because then you can't do anything on the bench. It's then your role can expand. You can gain the coach's trust. But for me, defense is something I've really had to work on and feel like I've really improved on. But I'd say one of the hardest guys I've had to guard is just going down the team list. We've got the first one that came to my mind is Terrence Shannon from Illinois. He's like 6'5", like he's strong as an ox and super fast. Like if he gets going downhill, like you might as well just let him just go to the rim and hope Trace blocks it.
Yeah. What about I'm gonna butcher his name. Is it Hunter
Dickinson? Oh, I don't guard him. I don't.
Well, you
guard
did on
those
the last
dudes.
position though.
Oh, yeah.
Game, because that's like such a big deal. I remember.
Yeah.
I think I came up. Well, we did the vlog the day after that game, so we talked about it. But like, you locked down that.
Yeah.
What's going through your head at that?
Those, yeah. So when that happened, it was like, man, I'm just trying to fight over screens. I'm trying to get over another screen. Then I got hit, and then I'm like, all right, we have to switch. It's later in the shot clock, so my mind's like, I just gotta. I know somebody is on the backside, but I don't know if they're in their spot. Like I don't know if they're in the right spot, but I'm just trusting that they are. And it was Trey Galloway, and I'm just trusting that he's in that spot. And so, he rolls me down to the block, where he wants to, get the ball, and then I just kind of use my quickness, because I'm smaller than him, is just to front him, and I'm like trying to move him and like. Work around him and just, push him out, then flip behind and then, get back into a front, knowing that they need to try to, the feeder on the wing needs to, hopefully just lob it up to, throw it at the rim for him to hopefully get. And, trusting that Trey Galloway is back there to get the ball. And you could see on film, he's like hiding.
You called it something. What was it? Like
he looks like a little gremlin back
Gremlin.
there. Like, yeah, like he's like hiding, like he's like bouncing out, and then he's come back in, then he's like low, and like
But that's
And
kind
then-
of his move. He kind of like always like hides
He's all-
behind people, and he's like a little. He's
Yeah,
super
he
low.
gets like he gets small and then like shoots gaps and stuff. He's really good, but like I was just trusting that play. I was trusting like he was back there and he was, and then they lobbed it up. He came from behind and snatched it. And we got the steal. So it was huge. But after that play, man, I was gassed. I was using all my strength against him, trying to push him and all that stuff. So it was wild.
Because that's another thing too. So about using all your strength is like, okay, we're at the end of the season now. There's only 4 teams left, so there's hundreds of teams dealing with this right now. What is it like postseason wear on your body? Because like you jump out from Big Ten tournaments and now you guys have done a lot. So how is that? Not just you, because I know you're dealing with some stuff, but you like as an NCAA high Division I player, like how do your bodies feel at the end of a season?
Well, it depends on a lot of factors. There's some guys who don't play as much, young guys and stuff like that. So they're relatively fresh. They've obviously gone through the practices, but there's not the toll of the games that they have to go through. But for me, as a guy who's playing 30 plus minutes as a fifth year senior, it's something that it's wear and tear. I mean, especially because basketball, college basketball is the longest season. It's like 9 months. So maybe more if you keep playing. So it's like it wears on you. Each practice is like 5 miles you're running. You add that up, there's 100 practices. It's like you're running 500 miles a year, not counting games, not counting work on your own. And so
Conditioning.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Preseason stuff they don't track, like it adds up. And you need time off, like doing nothing, and then you can slowly work back into it and stuff. So it just depends on the guy and where they're at in the year and what their the last 6 months, the last 8 months look like for them.
Real quick, before we get back into conversation, you can see the tee that Miller is wearing. It says Primal, which is his brand. It's been on TNT, CBS, it's been on ESPN. It's just a global brand. But I was on his website the other day. He is sold out of a couple things, but he has a lot of the winter stuff left. Go and sell him out of that so that he can drop the spring drop. Is spring drop coming?
There might be some stuff coming. Definitely. There
Might?
might be some stuff coming. Some shorts maybe I've been looking at. Some zip pockets too. I'm a big zip pockets guy, so I don't know. We'll see. We're cooking up something.
Speaking of fashion, if you guys follow Miller, you'll see his fashion tweaked a tad bit in the last week or so. What is your? Because I like last time we hung out, it's sweatpants and IU. Now you're wearing like Versace looking like button ups. We got 3 chains on. Like what is Miller Kopp's fashion?
So I usually wear this set of chains and stuff, but during the season it's hard because I got to take them all off and stuff during practice, and I get tired of it. And so now back after the season, I'm not going to the gym for practices and workouts like I was before. I can kind of just go on my own time, and I don't have to wear just sweats and stuff. I'm not waking up at 6 a.m. like I would have to sometimes. So it's like I got some time now. I can actually start pulling some clothes out from my wardrobe and start getting a little drippy.
And before we get back into basketball, we're going to plug you one more time. If somebody wants to know more about you and your life, where should they follow you? What platforms do you have to post on all the time?
So I'm on all platforms. I got TikTok, just Miller Kopp, MillerKopp. Instagram, same thing. Twitter, same thing.
You're a big Twitter thread guy now, right?
I've been gaining a little traction on Twitter, finding my Twitter voice. I'm still getting it, but I'm learning as we go. So, yeah.
And something that I do, talk about Twitter, and we're going to get back into the serious part now, is like, with our platform, I think we covered like 170, 200 high school games this year. You deal with it at the college level, which is the Barstool accounts. So you have these kids getting like all week, just not even I'm talking about high school kids, just getting like blasted with just hate on Twitter all week leading up to the games, and then not even to mention the student sections at the games. There was a game this year, and we don't have to go into it a ton, but you went to where you transferred from.
Yes,
and
yes.
The fans were brutal. Honestly, just unbelievably brutal. Enough for the school to put out an apology letter. How would you tell a high school athlete in any sport, but specifically basketball, like to get over that? Because you're talking about all week leading up to it, it was crap, and then you get to the game and it was even crappier than crap. What would be your advice to a high school athlete that's dealing with that stuff?
Well, my thing is understanding, taking a step back and understanding that, there's a reason for, how you're getting treated. Whatever it is, I've been able to, sit back and look at the situation and evaluate what happened and just understand that, number one, the people that hate on you and are being negative towards you, number one, they got nothing else going on for them. Number two, that they would give their, those, guys in the stands, chanting at me, cussing at me, whatever it is, would give their left nut, their left testicle to be in my position, and
it comes from jealousy.
It comes from jealousy. It comes from an inward, desire that they have to be, in your position or whatever it may be. But there's something there that there's something wrong with them, and so now they're trying to put it on you. And so
that's deep.
But it's real, and that's why there is, hate, not just in sports, but around the world. It's internal. It's people's internal problems, throwing them externally on you, and it's just taking a step back of receiving any hate, receiving any of that negativity is, you can't let it deviate you from your path. And so
what you said, your path's to be on the floor.
Yeah.
And I know people
Exactly.
say tune it out, but it's probably hard to tune it out, but it's like their goal is to play on the floor and score more points than their team, like you said, but it is like draining for these kids. I've heard it. I filmed it. Like, they're brutal.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I've gotten so much. So for example, I'll give context. Is like, for anybody who doesn't know, that's good. I basically, like I said, I spent 3 years at Northwestern. This is my last year at Indiana, my last year in college. We go to Northwestern. It'll be the last time I'll ever be in there, basically, especially playing a game. And I'm berated with hate, with cussing, with just like everything you can imagine, right? 90 minutes to start the game. Kids are in there, warming up. They're yelling at me, screaming at me. And it changed. It got to the point where, I spent 3 years there, right? And gave my blood, sweat, and tears to that program, to that school. And I'm an emotional guy. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, that's part of the reason why I'm here today is like, I put everything into anything I do. And so, I go back, I'm like, man, this is kind of wild. I spent so much time of my life here, and this is how I'm getting treated. And no one's doing anything to stop it. No one's saying anything. And, you've got thousands of people chanting, F you, Miller.
And they're not saying F either.
No, yeah, they're saying it. And, you can hear it through the TV screen loud as day, like clear as day, right? And so, after that happened, right, I didn't talk for one day. Like, for that whole flight home, the bus ride, the next day in practice, during film, like, I didn't say a word. I was just, number one, pissed. I was, like, upset and just thinking about the whole situation, right? And, the next day I kind of got out of it a little bit, just kind of faked my way out of it because we had practice. We got to get ready for the next game. And then we went to Michigan State, right? And so for some reason, whatever happened, I got it again. For example, I would get subbed out of the game, and the whole student section, probably like 6,000 people, 7,000 people, Miller sucks, for no reason.
Which is crazy because
I'm out of the game.
And that school shooting just happened.
Exactly. That was the first game.
It was the first game back. It was supposed to be like bring everybody together, and it's like.
So that's what I'm saying but to go back, I experienced one of the worst games of my life, worst things I've ever been through at Northwestern, a place that I gave everything. Like, I dumped all the work, the hours and hours and hours and days. I've slept in that gym. The gym that I got cussed out in, I slept in that damn gym, right? But I experienced that, and it was like up here, right? I mean, it can't get any worse than that. And so when Michigan State came, and they, were chanting whatever, and the stands were doing the same thing. It was like, a fly. It was on my shoulder. Like, I didn't care. And so my biggest piece of advice to anybody going through that is, number one, it's only going to make you stronger. And number two, it's something that not many people are going to experience in their life. And you're going to have an advantage over everybody else because you've been through that and you've learned from it and you can move on through it.
That's really good.
It's a long answer, but yeah.
No, that's really good.
Because it's real stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be on a totally different level, deeper level to hear it from people that you thought had your back.
Exactly. And no one said anything, and I thought even the statement they put out after the game from the athletic director, I thought that was it was kind of BS. They didn't even name me. They didn't say anything about who it was or what happened.
Which is funny because the game that we went to at home versus Wisconsin, they say it over the overhead. Like, hey, don't say abusive language, the student section, blah, blah, blah. You'll be kicked out, hold your standard, and then just to have it you treat it like that. Like I told you, I'm not even an IU fan, but I was pissed at the TV.
Yeah, and
I was like,
the worst part is like I got family watching me. I got young kids. I got young kids from home watching me. I got my family friends who buy the Big Ten channel just for the whole season just because to watch my games, and they got young kids wearing upside down headbands watching me. It's like that's the tough part because people forget people forget you're human.
It's like I feel like some people don't take that into account. As like at the end of the day, it's like you guys are just, I wouldn't say kids, but humans just playing a game that you love. Like sometimes I just feel like people let it come to a level that it just should never be that way.
which I think is why people love you though too. There's a circle all the way back to the top, but like your guys' life was told to us through videos. You had the entire country laughing at your, hey, say dinosaur or T-Rex, whatever it was in the post-game interviews. You had you and, which I think is Trey, is Trey like one of your closest friends on the team? Because you guys are always together.
Me and Gallo are always we're always chatting. That's my guy.
Is he the best dancer on the team?
He's
dancing
up there.
a lot.
He's up there, but it's Jordan Geronimo. Jordan Geronimo's the best.
Because I think the favorite.
But Gallo's up there.
His surf dance was good that one.
That was good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I got a great video of that.
It was really good. But yeah, we loved just following you guys throughout the whole thing. And like you said earlier, like follow Miller on all the platforms because you're gonna have a lot of stuff come out, behind the scenes stuff. It's gonna be good just to keep up with you if you're an Indiana fan. We'll leave it to one or two more questions. Connor, you got a question for him before we head out of here? You have a whole list of them in front of you. You can just you can just ask.
He's got a lot. There's a lot there.
While Connor's looking, big pickleball guy now.
Dude, I'm getting into it. As the weather gets nicer, I'm gonna be outside.
Especially because you're a big UV guy, right?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna get
what's
tan.
the perfect UV?
Dude, as high as it can go. I'm taking it as high as it can go. I'm staying out there. No sunscreen. I'm just getting straight tan. I can't wait, man. I'm looking outside right now. It's still dark. But when it gets sunny out there, you're going to see me I'm not going to have a shirt on. I won't own a shirt. I won't own a shirt in the summer and spring.
You're going to have a lot of females out there. As soon as you said it, you're like, oh no.
I'm going to throw them all out.
Speaking of female, what's the situation with the dating life?
Oh, man, single, bro.
Single for a while?
Been single for a while. I'll probably stay. I don't know, man. We'll see. But I'm single right now, but I got a dog that I'm taking care of.
Because that's what you told me earlier, is that you're going to audition for The Bachelor in 2023.
Nah, I did not say that. You brought that up.
I don't know.
Bad idea.
No, oh, man. I don't know about that.
Because when you do, if you ever watch The Bachelor, you walk in, you introduce yourself to the girl first. You could just wear the candy stripes. Do you know how much support you'd get from that?
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
And then you could rip it off and be like, I don't have a shirt on.
It sounds like you want to be on The Bachelor more than me.
I want to be on The Bachelor. Connor does, I'm pretty sure. But thank you for being on the podcast. I hope this isn't the last time. I think because if you look at this list right here, I had so much to talk about.
I definitely want to.
I want to talk more about it, but we want to save you and respect your time. So we appreciate you being on here today. Again, don't forget, if you want really good, rate the coffee cold brew real quick.
Should I?
I think you should.
All right. I like going to the spot though.
I know. Take a swig out of this though, with no, just straight out the refrigerator. It's not watered down.
All right, now.
I'm gonna take another one here.
So we got cold brew coffee talk. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, coffee for every conversation.
Coffee for every conversation. Unsweetened, good. It's got to stay clean.
I did tell the owner that you normally have an extra shot in it, so he's like, it's probably gonna be sweet to him.
No. That's on game days. That's
Just
on game
game
days.
days,
'Cause
okay.
remember, you see me getting on game days because I need a little extra caffeine.
2 shots.
All right.
Give it a little swig. We'll play some music in the background or something. I mean, you could just like ruin his life, so just don't be like.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you've had really good cold brew though.
I've had cold brew all over, and I drink it all black, because just
Connor's drinking
how
out
it's
of a
supposed
tea
to.
glass, so.
Yeah. Just how it's supposed to be drank. You don't need any, extras. I like it. It's clean. It's smooth.
Very smooth.
It's smooth. It's really smooth. I want to know how they kind of get it done, but.
Another swig.
So this is the first review I've ever done. Number one on a podcast, but number two, out of a
not from a store.
Yeah, not from the store, right? Not in the store. So this will be on a different scale.
Yeah.
Right. So this right here, I'm gonna go one more swig.
He did say they steep it for 18 hours, so that's the process. It's an 18-hour steep. It was made yesterday, just for this episode.
See, I like this.
This is a big moment right here.
This right here, this guy, his name is
It's really
Joel.
good. It actually it really gets better every sip. And I'm going to give this a really good score because I like it. And it's something that I could drink. I could probably sip on this throughout the whole day, and it would, I like it. I'm going to give this a 8-1. That's the one that keeps coming to my mind.
Wow.
That's a really good score. Like
That
that's a big time score. So they
Well, yeah, before we get off here, shout out to your dog Ivy. It means a lot.
Ivy.
We have some footage we'll throw over this.
Shout out
She's
Ivy.
a dog,
She's a
Dog.
So we appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Tune in for our next episodes. Miller, thank you for being on here. Appreciate you guys.
My guys.
Go like, subscribe, and comment on all platforms for Air Sports. We love you guys. Have a great day.
Stay primal.
Peace.
Era Sports. We're at the game.